Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer, and welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling, your place for WWF No Mercy, WCW NW Revenge, and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 Let's Play videos, and a little bit of WWE 2K16. Today I will be doing WWF No Mercy. I am continuing my journey and completing the game, and I have to get through this Intercontinental Championship path, which is no easy task, and I am playing as last year's Hall of Fame inductee Rikishi, part of the 2015 class of Hall of Famers for the WWE. And if you've joined me for the first time, welcome. Thank you for watching. I like to do Let's Play videos where I talk about the where I talk about the historical context of what was going on during the time in WWF, from November of 99 to November of 2000, because WWF No Mercy came out in November of 2000. So I like to talk about what was going on around that time, give a little bit of the historical context of the wrestlers that were included in the roster of No Mercy. And it's really interesting to see. You can kind of tell when the game kind of stopped being developed, because a lot of changes happened in that year, and especially for Rikishi. I mean, Rikishi himself went through so many transformations in the WWE/WWF. First introduced in the WWF as part of the Head Shrinkers, along with his cousin Samu. Am I saying that right? But yeah, he's part of the Anoa'i family, which is the Samoan tribe, if you will, the Samoan, lineage of wrestlers. And he's part of that notable family, which includes The Rock. He's the brother of Umaga. He's the father of the Usos. He's the cousin of Roman Reigns and Yokozuna. And he had quite a bit of a career before he became, the Rikishi that we know in this game, the Rikishi that teamed with Too Cool. He started out with the Head Shrinkers. They actually captured the tag team titles. He joined around 1992. They won the titles once. And then in 1995, he was repackaged as Make a Difference Fatu. He was this more urban, streetwise, positive kind of guy. A far cry from being this, the Head Shrinker character who was like this Samoan who couldn't talk English. He was very wild and indigenous. So it was a very different character, but it was more close in line into who Rikishi was. But that didn't last long, and in 1996 they repackaged him as the Sultan. So he was the Sultan for a little bit, once again going back to this kind of mysterious character who didn't talk. He actually fought The Rock for The Rock's IC title at WrestleMania 13, which is, interesting because we're doing an IC title run. So that was his first, sort of taste of the Intercontinental Championship. And then he went to the Dory Funk Training Conservatory in 1998, so he disappeared off of TV, and he returned. Actually, he returned the day before Survivor Series 1999 as Rikishi Fatu, and within a couple of months they would drop the Fatu. Here I go, I'm giving him the stink face, Al Snow the stink face. So there's a few things you should know about Rikishi before I get into the historical context. There's a few things you should know about Rikishi as he is in the game, because he is a super heavyweight character. And the super heavyweight character was actually first introduced in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. Andre the Giant in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 is the only super heavyweight character, meaning you can't use all your moves on them because of their weight. So usually if you go for a front grapple and the weight detection's off, it's like, okay, well, you can only body slam him. So it goes into this special body slamming animation where you have to tap the buttons rapidly in order to pick, the character up and slam him. And the same thing with back grapples. You have to tap the controller rapidly to do a big back body drop. So there's a lot of plus and minuses for playing as a super heavyweight character. And when you win a match as Rikishi, it cuts to a cutscene where you dance with Too Cool, which is really what skyrocketed Rikishi's popularity. in from late '99 to mid 2000. I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, but this is the only time we're gonna see this cutscene. By the way, I'm gonna skip it every single time because we'll be here all day if I just keep watching every single Too Cool dance. As amazing as it is that it was included in the game, there's only very few end of match animations that are included in the game. You have Kane, lighting his Inferno. You have Stone Cold celebrating, going from apron to apron. So the Rikishi Too Cool dance is a nice little like bonus if you win your regular matches, and it's pretty cool that they included it. Here comes China, the ninth wonder of the world. See, this match is pretty tricky. So you'll encounter this match a lot throughout the different championship paths where you have to beat someone in under 3 minutes, and that's not really too hard to do, but if you let the match go away from you, if you let the momentum go away from you, you're gonna have to probably retry a few times. And as much as I've played this game and as much as an expert I feel like I am at this game, this match always gives me difficulty. And a lot of times you are facing China, but sometimes it's other people depending on the path you're taking. And so this match kind of slips away, and there I go, like right off the bat, China is able to body slam me. And again, Rikishi's a super heavyweight, so that's one of the downsides. It's the downside if you're playing as a super heavyweight, because if they're able to body slam you, look at China's meter. China's already in the orange. All she did was 2 slams. If you manage to pull off a move like that on the super heavyweight character, your meter goes really up, and then conversely your meter goes really down if you're playing as the super heavyweight. So that's kind of one of the negatives as playing as a super heavyweight, is if you're playing against a computer or if you're playing against another person and they're able to get those slams off of you, their meter is going to go up really quickly. And that sucks for this kind of match where I have to beat China in under 3 minutes. It really puts the momentum in her favor easily if she's able to pull off those moves. And look at her, she's just countering me like no problem. Like, I just was not gonna win this match. Like, this match, just everything I try to do, she has a counter for it, and I don't know why. Just right off the bat, she's able to get those 2 big, slams, and the match kind of slips away from me here. This is actually the second time I'm playing as Rikishi for the Intercontinental title, because the first time when I played as Rikishi and I thought I recorded it, all I recorded was just black nothingness. So I had to re-record it, and I had a lot of more difficulty the second time through than the first time. I wish it didn't erase my first time playthrough. It was pretty much flawless, and then the second time, just everything was going wrong in the matches. And just so I guess I should put it out there, this is the 5th championship path. I have to win my first 2 matches, lose my 3rd and 4th match, and then win the rest of the matches. So you're going to see as I'm going through it in the paths, you can already see that all the paths are pretty much unlocked, because I played this so many weeks ago. I'm just now getting to recording the audio, and I had to replay the Rikishi path, so no big deal. I like playing as Rikishi. I think he's got a really cool moveset in this game. The only drawback is he's a super heavyweight. As neat as a feature it is, I always shied away from playing as super heavyweight characters because, that's just such a big downside. Your opponent can get their meter up so quickly, and you could be on a roll, you can have your momentum going, and if they slam you, that brings your meter all the way down. So it's really hard. I uploaded a video of the 4-way dance, the triple threat between Big Show, The Rock, and Triple H from Survivor Series 99. And there I go. You see, I quit the match because it's like, I'm definitely not winning this match. Let me restart it, because I had to beat China in under 3 minutes. But I made the Big Show call, and he's a super heavyweight, and in that match that I uploaded, it takes such a long time for me to win the match because I just can't get my meter up to special because they just keep slamming me over and over again. So it was kind of tedious and difficult, and I encounter a lot of that with Rikishi. There's a few other super heavyweights. Actually, it's only Viscera and Andre the Giant, who are super heavyweights in WWF No Mercy. And a lot of the modern games, they do the whole weight detection thing, which I think is cool. I like how the modern games do it. Again, you know, the weight detection is really cool because you're not gonna have like someone like Rey Mysterio power bombing, you know, the Big Show. You know, that's just not gonna make sense. So it's really cool, but in the modern games, they don't have that kind of like handicap where if you get, you know, if you get power bombed down, you know, that's my dog being crazy in the background. If you get power bombed and you're a super heavyweight, then it doesn't affect your meter like 2 times as much as it does in WWF No Mercy. So let's get back to the historical context because Rikishi is very interesting. So we're doing the Intercontinental Championship, right? And like I mentioned in some of my earlier Intercontinental Championship Let's Play videos, from 1999, you know, from Survivor Series 99 to Survivor Series 2000, there were 8 different IC champions, right? And only one of those champions held the title previously, and that was Val Venus. So every single Intercontinental Champion from November 99 to November 2000 was Intercontinental Champion for the first time. And Rikishi, out of all the Intercontinental Champions in that year, held it the least amount of time. He only held it for 14 days. And so that's 2 weeks. He won it right before King of the Ring, and he lost it pretty much right after King of the Ring. He beat Chris Benoit, and then he would lose the title to Val Venus. So why am I doing a Let's Play with Rikishi for the Intercontinental Championship if he only wrestled for 2 weeks? Well, that year, from Survivor Series 99 to Survivor Series 2000, I guess you could argue that year was the most important year in Rikishi's career. It was the most memorable year, and it pretty much summed up his legacy in WWE. You had him appear as Rikishi the day before Survivor Series. Within a few weeks, he's dancing with Too Cool, and it's instantly one of the most, you know, hottest things in the company. I mean, everyone loved watching Too Cool and Rikishi dancing, and they become like one of the best attractions in WWE. And then we get to, towards after Unforgiven, towards the fall, Rikishi is revealed to be the person who hit Stone Cold Steve Austin at Survivor Series 99. Now, I didn't go into too much research about the behind the scenes with that whole storyline, and I would like to wonder if that was a long-term plan, that when they first introduced Rikishi and they had Austin get hit with the car, if they were like, oh, it's going to be Rikishi, we're going to reveal it when Austin comes back. I don't know if that was the case, because everything that happened with Rikishi in the time that Austin was gone, and with him being with Too Cool, I don't think people expected him to kind of blow up the way he did. So maybe they threw him in as the guy who hit Austin with the car because they thought, it could be unexpected, because obviously it was going to be Triple H. And Triple H did, in fact, orchestrate the whole thing. It would later be revealed. But maybe they wanted to throw a swerve and try something different with Rikishi. I don't know. We'll get into it. We'll get into it a lot more. Eddie Guerrero there, I beat him with a DQ, where I lose the match with a DQ, because I'm supposed to lose these next 2 matches. And I'm going to get thrown into a triple threat match right now. These are 2 match types that are really easy to lose. I mean, the first one, if your DQ's on, just go for the DQ, and you can lose the match. Sometimes you have to lose the matches because of the championship path. And triple threat matches, just, focus on one guy and then let the other guy pin him. And in this match, Jericho's the champ. I'm going to leave Jericho as the champ, and I'm going to focus on Eddie Guerrero. And then when Jericho has his special and he's ready to win the match, I let him do his special, and I just stay away from him. And I try not to attack Jericho all match. The computer's going to want to attack you. It's in their nature. It's in their design to go after you in a triple threat match. So just stay away. Just, resist the urge of laying the smackdown on both your computer opponents in a triple threat match when you have to lose. So So Stone Cold got hit with the car, and that set basically the whole big chain of events that would happen from Survivor Series '99 to Survivor Series 2000. Very interesting year, very defining year for a lot of people. I talked about in my Kurt Angle Intercontinental Championship how he basically had the best rookie year in all of wrestling. Period. Jericho having come to the company a few months before this. Same thing with Benoit and him coming into the company, China setting records as the IC champ. A lot happens around the Intercontinental Championship, which is why it's so fascinating to go into people who won the Intercontinental Championship that year, even if it's someone like Rikishi who only held it for 2 weeks. So, Survivor Series '99, he's not on there. Armageddon, he's teaming with Viscera. That was the first person he kind of like had a feud with when he came back as Rikishi Fatu. They fought the Hollies. They lost. The Hollies were doing their whole, we're super heavyweight gimmicks, and they actually won that match because Viscera messed up. He attacked Rikishi by accident, and then he wasn't really, upset about it. And Rikishi was like, "That's messed up, man." So he kicked him in the face. They feud for a little bit, and then Rikishi joins forces with Too Cool. They start teaming. It's a very unlikely tag team, and then all of a sudden, during one night after the post-match celebration, when they're doing their dance, they keep Rikishi from leaving the ring, and they do the dance with Rikishi, and the rest is history. And it blows up, becomes such a big thing. Royal Rumble 2000. Actually, Rikishi had a great showing at the Royal Rumble 2000, and there's a lot of peaks and valleys for Rikishi. So he comes out, and he comes out kind of low. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, Rikishi, okay, alright, I get it." So it's kind of low. No one's really like, "Oh, look at this great, guy, he's back." If people remembered him, or at least knew who he was before then. But there wasn't too much excitement when he first came in, right? And then he joins with Too Cool, and he's dancing. It's like, "Oh, wow, yeah, okay, yeah." So his stock is going way up because of that. And in the Royal Rumble, they do the whole bit where Rikishi eliminates a bunch of guys, and he's in the ring with Grandmaster Sexy and Scotty 2 Hotty, and they're like, no, let's dance. And they dance right during the Royal Rumble. It was great. It was funny. But then Rikishi eliminates both of them, and he's like, every man for themselves. Rikishi actually ended up having the most eliminations in that Royal Rumble that year. He had a total of 8. So pretty impressive. It showed that Rikishi was a dominant force, I felt, and it was trying to establish that, as silly as that gimmick was with Too Cool and Rikishi, I mean, that was the ace up their sleeve. When Rikishi got in the ring, he always got the hot tag, and he was he was kind of unstoppable. And, they couldn't, they won a lot of their matches because of Rikishi, and people loved it. People loved it because that meant they would dance afterwards. Case in point, after the Royal Rumble, that's when the Radicals debuted, and their first big match was against Too Cool at No Way Out. And I talked about this a few other times in a few other of my Let's Plays, and the Radicals ended up losing, which I still think is weird. In their debut, they lose, but a part of the reason why they lose is because, Rikishi was being established as this, he's a 400 plus pound Samoan. He's gonna wreck you. You can't just run over Rikishi, you know what I mean? So Too Cool gets that victory against the Radicals at No Way Out. And then WrestleMania 2000, for some reason, Rikishi started teaming with Kane briefly. It was so weird because Rikishi, he was with Too Cool, but then he was also teaming with other people. I don't know if they were just trying to get more mileage out of Rikishi and then inserting him in other places, but to culminate Kane's feud with X-Pac and all that jazz, Rikishi and Kane take on Road Dogg and X-Pac. It was a very quick match. Rikishi and Kane win easily, and the big thing is Rikishi and Too Cool, when they dance with that mascot. I forgot what mascot it was. And I didn't forget. When I looked back and I watched the match again, I was like, I don't recognize this mascot. And I wasn't really listening to Jim Ross telling me which mascot it was, but it was basically to set up, Kane thought Pete Rose was in the mascot. So when Kane goes to attack, the mascot, after he's done dancing with Too Cool. Pete Rose shows up, tries to hit Kane. Rikishi stops him. Kane chokeslams him, and then Rikishi gives him the stink face. Big WrestleMania moment for Rikishi there. Backlash, April 29th. Rikishi wasn't on the pay-per-view for some reason. At Insurrection 2000, May 6th, you had Shokishi, which was the Big Show, and Rikishi against the Dudley Boys. And again, part of the attraction of Rikishi was his look. He was this big Samoan heavyweight, super heavyweight, who wore this thong kind of outfit. Rikishi is actually a term they use for sumo wrestlers, so his outfit was sort of to resemble that, but you also, it looks like he's just wearing a thong, pretty much. So, and he's got that big butt, he's doing the stink face, so that was part of the appeal of Rikishi. And Big Show was going through his little mini gimmick, where he was impersonating other characters and wrestlers. So he was Shokishi, he was dressing up as Rikishi, wearing the same outfit, and he was Shokishi. And they fought the Dudleys, who came into the WWE recently as well, and they were this crazy, unstoppable tag team, and they beat the Dudleys, and at the end, everyone dances. Dudleys dance, Bubba Ray does like a break dance, Big Show dances. Very silly, very fun, but that was part of the appeal of Too Cool. But again, it's like, you try to establish Rikishi as this big dominant force. You got him in the Royal Rumble destroying people. You got him teaming with other big giants like Kane and Big Show. But then he's like doing all these silly dances. So you can't really take him too seriously. So I think that's when they wanted to see how, okay, we gotta make him a force. He's a good guy, but we gotta make him a force. And after that, that's when he started going after the Intercontinental Championship. And right before King of the Ring, the SmackDown before the King of the Ring, he fought Chris Benoit. He beat Chris Benoit for the Intercontinental Championship. So that was really cool to see. So, again, within not a few months, but about 8 months after coming back to the WWF, as his new Rikishi gimmick, he's given the Intercontinental Championship. And then he goes into the King of the Ring, and he makes it all the way to the finals. And his storyline was very compelling in the King of the Ring. He was probably the favorite to win it right away, but because he had this, storyline injury with his arm, in the first match, him and Chris Benoit fought. And Chris Benoit was so upset that he just lost the IC title to Rikishi, that Chris Benoit throws the match by just attacking Rikishi with a chair, mid-match. So that gets Chris Benoit disqualified. Rikishi advances to the semifinals, where he takes on Val Venis, and same thing, Val Venis, he loses the match. He gets so upset that he loses the match, so he attacks Rikishi with a chair on that same injured arm that Benoit made even worse in the beginning of the night by attacking him with a chair. Flash forward to the finals, you got Kurt Angle, who's, fresh as fresh can be. He didn't really have too hard of a difficulty getting to the finals, and he beats Rikishi easily. He exploits that arm, and Kurt Angle ends up winning the King of the Ring. This sets up Rikishi feuding with Val Venis. Val Venis manages to take the title off of Rikishi after King of the Ring, and they have a rematch for the title at Fully Loaded, and this was Rikishi's best match of the year. Again, if you have the WWE Network, go watch Fully Loaded, July 23rd, 2000. I mentioned this match in my Val Venis European Championship path, or Let's Play, I should say. And this match is great. I mean, Rikishi was always a hell of a worker. If you go back and you watch, anything Rikishi, it's in their blood, man. The Samoan wrestlers, that family, they just know what to do. It's tradition for them. It's they're like the Hart family, but there's more of them. And it's the same thing with the Hart family. They're all wrestlers. They all train together. They all learn from the master, the patriarch. And it's the same thing with the Samoans. So every single one of them are good workers. They know how to sell. They know how to, tell stories in the ring. But the Val Venis Rikishi steel cage match at Fully Loaded for the Intercontinental Championship is a great match. I'm still not crazy about the finish. I don't know if I talked about this when I did my Val Venus Let's Play, but the highlight of that match, I mean, they beat the crap out of each other. And Val Venus, too. Val Venus was very underrated as a worker. But they beat the crap out of each other in that match. And the highlight of that match is when Rikishi's trying to climb over the cage. He's up top, and he's looking down at Val Venus. And everyone starts getting very excited because they're like, no, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't jump off. Oh, my God. He's moving to the center. He's moving to the center. And I remember watching it, and I was like flipping out. I was like, there's no way Rikishi is going to jump off the top of the cage. I mean, it's one thing to have a guy that size who comes in very serious looking, menacing, and then all of a sudden he'll start dancing. You know, he'll start break dancing, or he'll put his ass in your face. You know, all these silly things. But to see someone like that, as big as Rikishi is, over 400 pounds, over 6 foot tall, to jump from the top, you know, this is not Jeff Hardy, this is not Rey Mysterio, this is not RVD, this is not a small guy, or at least a guy who's not 400 pounds, you know, jumping off the top. And it's great. It's Rikishi's best match of the year. Probably one of his best matches ever, honestly. There I go, giving the bonsai drop to Road Dogg, almost killing him. The bonsai drop KOs in this game, which is great. And I couldn't get it on him in the first time, so I managed to get it at the end of the match because he was in perfect positioning. Secretly, the bonsai drop is like one of the best moves in the game, but only Rikishi does it. I don't think anyone else does it. I mean, Viscera might do it. I don't know. I never really play as Viscera. And you can make Yokozuna. You can give him the bonsai drop. It's great. They have Yokozuna's tights. So, the ending, though, of that match with Rikishi and Val Venus, Taz comes out and prevents Rikishi from exiting the ring by hitting him with the camera, because that's Taz's thing now, unfortunately. And Val Venus ends up winning the match, which I think was a shame, because you had Rikishi do that big spot, but he loses the match. I don't know. I always thought that was kind of weird that they did that, and I felt like they should have just called an audible in the ring and said, "Man, I didn't know you were gonna do that. Give him back the title." But they really gave it their all, and you know, when you go back and you look back at it, it goes all downhill from there. I feel like that got a lot of people talking. I remember. Me and all my friends were talking about it, and I looked at Rikishi a different way after that. I looked at his performance in the King of the Ring. I looked at him doing that big dive, and it's like you never quite knew what he was gonna do. He could do things above and beyond what you categorized him as, and I think that's what makes a wrestler special. And I think that's what people gravitate towards, you know, when they see something unexpected come from a wrestler. And Rikishi was already one of the most popular wrestlers in the company at that time. Like, he really was. Like, if you go back and you watch a lot of the Too Cool stuff, they're getting some of the biggest reactions of the night. You know, right under Stone Cold and The Rock and DX. You know, they're getting huge pops. One of my favorite matches of all time. It really is. One of my favorite matches of all time is when the Radicals showed up and they were feuding, and it was the Radicals and DX. There was 5 of them against because you know Eddie Guerrero was hurt. So I believe it was the Outlaws, or was it Triple H and Shawn? No, it was the Outlaws and Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and not Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn and Chris Benoit. There was the Radicals and DX. It was 5 against Rock and Sock Connection. And, you know, Rock and Sock Connection was the whole thing. Oh, you guys, no one wants to be your friends. No one wants to be your partners. And they come out, and DX and Radicals are in the middle of the ring. And they're fighting Rock and Sock Connection. They're fighting for a few seconds. And then all of a sudden, Too Cool's music hit. And the place went nuts. I mean, talk about one of the biggest reactions of all time. because it was so unexpected. It was so unexpected, and it's funny. You go back, you look back at the Attitude Era, and there's a lot of conversations about what WWE can do now to get people excited again, to get people talking about WWE, to bring the ratings up, so all the longtime fans aren't, complaining after every Raw and every pay-per-view. And, the Attitude Era wasn't perfect, and Rikishi's a perfect example of that too. We're going to get into in a little bit of how they kind of messed that thing up and killed a great thing, which is something they still do today. But that was such an unexpected moment, because before that, you didn't view Too Cool as on the same level as The Rock and Mankind. They were definitely popular, very popular, and getting huge reactions, and people loved to see them. But it was unexpected, yet it made sense at the same time, and it got people excited because it was different. It was different, and anything could have happened. It's like, oh my god, like, is Too Cool really gonna be wrestling alongside The Rock? Like, Grandmaster Sexy is teaming with The Rock right now. Sky Too Hottie. And you have Rikishi there, and it's like, you look at him, it's like, yeah, he is great backup to have. He's a 400-pound Samoan, monster. Of course he's gonna show up and beat the crap out of the Radicals and DX. That makes perfect sense. It was one of the best moments ever on Raw, in my opinion. At least for me, it was one of my favorite moments of all time. And that crowd reaction, oh man, so loud. They was so excited. You look at something recently that happened on Raw. The Wyatts. What's going on with the Wyatts, right? You know what I mean? It's like they call out Undertaker and Kane, and then they get beat by Undertaker and Kane. Now they're messing with the Dudley Boys and Tommy Dreamer and Rhino, and it's like, well, what's going on? We can't really take you as a threat, you know what I mean? Because you guys, you keep losing the big ones, and you keep picking on the little guys. So how can we say, oh, you're the top heels or whatever? And Sheamus and his crew, the League of Nations, they were out, they were talking, and they were saying they're the most dominant 4-man group in the WWE. And then the lights go off because it's the Wyatts, and they show up. And the crowd starts losing it because it's so unexpected, and it's so exciting, and it's so different. There was no warning, there was no build-up, and for a brief moment, you thought, wow, something new is going to happen right now. But then it didn't, because then the ECW people came out, and then Roman Reigns came out with his friends, and they did a really rushed 4-team elimination match, and it was kind of disappointing. Because why not just let the Wyatts and the League of Nations go just for that one match? Just let them go. Just let them beat the crap out of each other, and then maybe at the end have a schmaz and the ECW people come out or something like that. But just let it happen. Let that moment happen. I think back when Stone Cold fought Benoit in Canada for the world title, when Stone Cold was heel, and Benoit gave him that 10 German suplexes. Just like moments like that, moments that you think you'll never see again, because the two people in the ring aren't normally in the ring together. When Triple H was being, the World Heavyweight Champion heel, running around with McMahon Helmsley, and he was choosing his own opponents, and he fought Taka Michinoku. That match was great, with him against Taka Michinoku, because it wasn't the same old, and Taka Michinoku for a brief moment looked like, oh my god, he could be in the same ring with Triple H, and then the APA came out, and it's like, oh my god, this is gonna happen. We're gonna see Taka Michinoku beat Triple H. Like, it's moments like that. You can still have the people who you want to win. But if you throw in something completely different, at least you can make the audience believe for a little bit that, oh, something different can happen. This can be exciting. This can be fresh. And that's, and coming back, that's how I felt about Rikishi after that match with Val Venus. But then, shortly after that, well, pretty much in a few months, it would change dramatically for him. But his momentum kind of died down after that. They would lose at SummerSlam. Too Cool would lose at SummerSlam to Right to Censor. Nothing special about that match, but they lose. They lose to Right to Censor. This is a team that has been so hot all year, winning a majority of like the 6-man tag team matches that they're in, but then they lose to Right to Censor. Just easy. Like, it was an easy win for them, really. And then at Unforgiven, Rikishi gets kind of stuck in the sort of like love story between Eddie Guerrero and Chyna, if you will. You know, when Eddie Guerrero was trying to court her and woo her, and then all of a sudden he becomes this very jealous and controlling boyfriend. He's very manipulative, and he's taking advantage of Chyna in that way. And, you know, Eddie Guerrero is cheating in matches with Too Cool, and he gets on Rikishi's bad side, so Rikishi tries to go after him, but the focus was more so on the story of Chyna and Eddie Guerrero, as opposed to Rikishi challenging for the IC title again, which he had, you know, only held for 2 weeks before. I feel like that should have been the more important story arc, but whatever. You know, the Eddie Guerrero Chyna thing was fun. It was cool. And, you know, that match was very weird because he fights him, you know, they fight at Unforgiven, and Rikishi basically has the match won. And then Chyna interferes, so then Rikishi beats the crap out of Chyna, like really beats her up, and it makes Rikishi look like really horrible. It's like, whoa, Rikishi, cool it, all right? She interfered because she, you know, didn't want to see Eddie Guerrero hurt. You were beating him up, like you don't have to super kick her and then bonsai drop her. But the reason why they did that is because they wanted to show that when Eddie Guerrero saw what happens, he went and got his IC title first and then went to title. So it wasn't even about establishing anything character-wise for Rikishi. It was really more so to forward Chyna and Guerrero's storyline. So, you know, for those few months after Fully Loaded, he wasn't really doing much of anything. He was just being involved in other people's storylines. And then it becomes the big reveal. Stone Cold's coming back, and someone with blonde hair was driving the car. And everyone was like, blonde hair, oh, Triple H, Billy Gunn. You know, like the two obvious people. And it's revealed, Rikishi actually reveals himself, after pressure, I think, from Mick Foley, Commissioner Foley, that he was the one who ran over Stone Cold. And I remember watching that episode and being like, what? Even in my youth at that time, I was like, this isn't going to end well for Rikishi. It just made no sense. It felt forced. It felt like a surprise for the sake of surprise. And you're taking someone who was so popular at that time, and then all of a sudden we're going to make him a heel against the top babyface, the top returning babyface in the company. No way is Rikishi going to come out of this looking good unless they have him, you know, beat up Austin. But his motivations were completely silly. His motivation was, it was a race thing. It really was, if you think about it. He did it for The Rock. Okay? Because remember, that night, The Rock, Triple H, and The Big Show were going to wrestle for the world title. So to ensure that Stone Cold wasn't in it to win the title, Rikishi hits Stone Cold with a car. Who ends up winning the title that night? Big Show. So whatever. But The Rock was already a 3-time world champion before that. And he already had main evented WrestleMania. And Rikishi's logic was, oh, I did it because they're holding you back. And I wanted to ensure that you become the top guy in the company. Because they're holding you back. And they're always holding us Samoans back. Just like how they held back Yokozuna and, you know, all the other Samoans. And it was just like, really? That's your logic? The guy who already had won the Intercontinental Championship a couple of times. He 3-time World Heavyweight Champion. And he main evented WrestleMania already. And he needed your help. So you took out Austin. It made no sense. It was very forced. But then I was like, alright, let's see where they go with this. Because at that time, it wasn't really like a big, dominant, brute heel. Big Show was gone. You know. Because he was on probation, if you will. And so, all right, let's stick with it. Let's see where it's going. And at No Mercy 2000, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rikishi in a no holds barred match, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, rightly so, just beats the crap out of him all match. Just absolutely, stomps a mud hole, if you will, as he would say. And it was very anticlimactic. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was gonna kill him. He was basically gonna kill him. He got into his truck. And he was gonna run Rikishi over where Rikishi was lying against a wall. And then he runs into a cop car. The cops show up and they're like, "No, this wrestling event has gotten too out of control at the cops game." And they stop Stone Cold Austin from ending Rikishi's life. And it kind of like squashes it right away. Here's Rikishi. He took out Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then as soon as Stone Cold comes back, he destroys him. And I was like, well, what was the point of that? So Rikishi can't really be this intimidating top heel because he's already lost in his first match with the babyface, with the top returning babyface. And come on, it's Austin. Like, you're really gonna... I mean, it would have been bold and cool if they had Rikishi go over Austin, but that was never the plan. Austin getting hurt was never the plan in the first place. So when they had him get hit with the car, they just did that, and they were like, we'll deal it when he comes back. And then they're looking around, oh, what would be cool, what would be different? Everyone knows it's Triple H that was behind all this. Let's say it's Rikishi. And it was silly. And you kind of could see that right afterwards. When Stone Cold came back, but later that night, so here's the thing, he did it for The Rock, right? So later that night, he comes out, Kurt Angle's fighting The Rock for the championship. Rock is champion. And Kurt Angle comes out and beats The Rock because Rikishi interferes, trying to help The Rock, and instead, he super kicks The Rock. He gets an Olympic slam for his troubles, and then Kurt Angle Olympic slams The Rock and wins the World Heavyweight Championship. So now Rikishi is made to look like a bumbling idiot because he had this plan of running Stone Cold Steve Austin for The Rock, and then when he tries to help The Rock later that night, he causes The Rock to lose his World Champion. So now The Rock doesn't like him. Stone Cold doesn't like him. So now you have no one in Rikishi's corner, okay, except for maybe Triple H, because it becomes revealed after Survivor Series, after Survivor Series 2000, it gets revealed that Triple H was the architect. Before there was Seth Rollins, there was Triple H. And at Survivor Series, The Rock beats up Rikishi too. I mean, that was Rikishi's probably second best match of the year, if we're looking at the pay-per-views. Out of all the pay-per-views, him against Val Venus at Fully Loaded, that was the best one. And a what could have been kind of match, you know what I mean? But his match against The Rock at Survivor Series 2000, that was a really good match. Maybe because they know each other so well, because they're family members, they just have that chemistry. But that was a really good match. The crowd was super into it. And Rikishi could have been a great heel. I mean, throughout that match, he was hurting The Rock. And again, he's 400 plus pounds. I don't care who you are. If someone who's 400 plus pounds is kicking you in the face or dropping all their weight on you, it's gonna hurt. And The Rock wins. He pulls it out. He wins. But then afterwards, Rikishi gives him like 4 bonsai drops. So he still looks kind of strong after that, right? And it's like, oh, great. And then, I'm sorry. I think I said Triple H was revealed afterwards that he was the architect behind it all. It was actually before Survivor Series it was revealed. But then after that, that's our year. So real quick, because I want to show this. This is how I think. So it starts out low. Rikishi enters WWF. Everyone's like, all right, I guess. Dances with Too Cool. It's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Dances at the Royal Rumble. Eliminates 8 people. It's like, oh, wow, what a great showing. Still dancing. He's like leveling out. All right. Gets the IC title. Ooh, that's great. Has a great IC title championship match. Peaks, right? That's the highest point on the bar graph. You can't see it, but that's the highest point. Peaks up there. Then it dips down because he just kind of does nothing after that. loses against Eddie Guerrero, and, you know, because of DQ. And then it's revealed that he's the guy who hit Austin. Okay, so it goes back up a little bit. But then he gets stomped out by Austin. Then The Rock rejects him. So it's like, all right, it's kind of going down. It's kind of going down. At Rebellion 2000, there's a fatal 4-way for the WWF Championship. Rikishi's involved. Stone Cold's in it. The Rock's in it. Kurt Angle still wins. And then at Armageddon 2000, Hell in a Cell. 6 men. Kurt Angle, Rikishi, Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, and Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. And as exciting as it sounds on paper, you know, that match wasn't that exciting. The highlight of it was Rikishi getting thrown off the top of the Hell in a Cell and landing on the back of a flatbed truck that Vince McMahon had brought in when he was trying to tear off the door of the Hell in a Cell. Wrestling, folks. But, you know, Rikishi gets unceremoniously dumped pretty much out of the world title picture at that moment. And he gets thrown off of the truck. And that's it. So this is the guy who had one of the most popular gimmicks at the beginning of the year. Ends up being revealed as one of the key figures in taking out the top guy in the company. So who gets to main event WrestleMania, or at least be in one of the top slots of WrestleMania? Not Rikishi. Rikishi's not even on WrestleMania 17. Alright, he's not even included in WrestleMania 17. The Rock goes on to win the Royal Rumble. Rikishi's not even in the Final Four there. He gets eliminated by The Rock. The Rock goes on to win the Royal Rumble to face... No, I'm sorry. Stone Cold goes on to win the Royal Rumble. The Rock eliminates Rikishi in the Royal Rumble, but Rock gets eliminated in that Royal Rumble. Stone Cold goes on to win it, but The Rock goes on to win the World Heavyweight Championship from Kurt Angle, and it sets up Rock Austin 2 at WrestleMania 17. Rikishi's nowhere to be found. Triple H is off wrestling with The Undertaker, so he could care less about what's happening with Rikishi. And there you go. One of the most popular acts of the beginning of the year is nowhere to be found within a few short months. I think they realized that they couldn't write themselves out of Rikishi being the guy who took out Austin, because that meant you put him in the top of the card. You put him in the main event at that point. And you had Kurt Angle there, okay, rising to the top. Jericho would make a splash a few months after. You know, Benoit was there. I mean, there was so much competition for the people who were going to rise to the top along with Austin, Rock, and Triple H. And either they thought they were going to pull the trigger on Rikishi and make him one of the top people in the company, and then they got cold feet, or if there was something more to the story. We'll never know. I mean, Rikishi, at that Royal Rumble, Haku came back. So Rikishi and Haku started teaming up for a little bit. But WWE would release Rikishi in 2004. And then he wouldn't show up back in WWE until 2012. Okay, he'd make a few appearances, you know, dancing. Because people loved Rikishi. People loved Rikishi, but his time as, you know, the Rikishi gimmick we all know and love. Because no one remembers. I mean, we remember the head shrinkers, but that's not what we remember Rikishi for. We don't remember Rikishi for being, you know, stay positive Rikishi. Or, you know, being the Sultan. That was actually probably his worst gimmick, was the Sultan. But he really helped define the Attitude Era, because Too Cool, they were very important because they brought comedy to the show. And comedy is very important in wrestling. I think people underestimate how important it is to have comedy. I'm not talking about scripted comedy. I'm not talking about wrestlers going out there and telling bad jokes and making bad puns. There are just some people who are really gifted in the ring, and they're able to, you know, either do physical comedy really well or talk on the mic really well and be funny. But you gotta mix things up. You can't have it all be serious. I mean, we all know wrestling is a work, and we all know, you know, there's a lot of things that go on behind it. So we like to suspend our disbelief, but sometimes we need a break from, everyone, oh, I'm going to kick your butt. No, I'm going to kick your butt. Oh, I'm so serious. I'm so angry. And Too Cool gave us that outlet. It gave us something to cheer for because it was different, because it was entertaining, and it got fans excited to see. It was that moment of the show where you got up, you danced, you had fun, you cheered the silly moves, you cheered the big guy dropping his big butt in your face. Fans love to see that stuff. And, to get cold feet on someone like that can really hurt their career. And as fast as Rikishi rose in popularity, he basically disappeared into ambiguity after that, because once they turned him heel, he was done for. And I just feel like they didn't turn him heel. He should have never turned heel. But unfortunately, with some wrestlers like that, it's not like when Austin turned heel. That didn't ruin his career. It was just a poor decision. But people still watched Austin, and they still were into it. And even after the fact, when he turned back babyface, people were okay with it. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. How many times has Triple H gone back and forth? How many times has Shawn Michaels gone back and forth? But these guys had established themselves already as top of the card. Rikishi didn't have that protection. If his heel turn wasn't something they committed to 100%, it wasn't going to work. And it didn't work. So how do you go back to cheering the guy who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin when he starts doing his silly little dances? You can't. And they tried to turn him back babyface before he left the company, but it just wasn't the same. And it's very unfortunate, but I think there's a lot of parallels to that with what's going on today. I feel like part of the reason why WWE is struggling with their creative is because it's very short-sighted. Or maybe they have an idea, this is where we want to end up, but they don't know how to get there. So they do a lot of things in between that they at the time might seem like a good decision, but then they're like, well, how do we get out of here? Sheamus winning the Money in the Bank. Why? What was the reason? They had no reason for that. If it wasn't for Seth Rollins getting hurt, Sheamus wouldn't have won the title the way he did. They would have kept the Money in the Bank on him until who knows when. They probably would have just tried to wait for something to happen and look, oh, Seth Rollins got hurt. Perfect. Let's do it. And they could have gone in so many other different directions that night, but they didn't. Because they just saw the quick fix. Oh, Sheamus, Money in the Bank. Perfect, makes sense. But what do you do with Sheamus now? He hasn't been established as a top heel all year. You surround them with a bunch of other guys who haven't been hot in a while as top heels, and all they're doing is just getting beat up by the top babyface. It's just these. It seems like these quick decisions, these sudden decisions that don't go anywhere. There's no planning. There's no I don't know, there's no thought process of how far this could take them, which is why they just end up doing the same scenarios every week, in and out, over and over again, because they don't have plans for them. And Rikishi, you can kind of see that when they brought Rikishi, if the plan was to have him be part of Too Cool and dance right away, he would have done that the first night out. That's something that happened organically. Or they realized that, they saw that happening organically, and they rode with it. But then also at the same time, they took what was working organically and they tried to force it to be something different. You could say that very much about Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns right now should be the top heel in the company. Why? Because the fans want to boo him. They don't want to boo him because they think he sucks, but they just want to boo him. He's a heel. He's entitled. He's big, strong, and he's beautiful. He's not Daniel Bryan. He's not CM Punk. He's not the babyface champion they want to see. They want to see an unlikely babyface right now. That's the world we live in. We want our heroes right now aren't superheroes. Yeah, we watch the superhero movies, but that's different. The people we admire in society right now are the unlikely people, okay? And Roman Reigns is that. He's that perfect prototype. He's that John Cena. He's that superhero. He can do no wrong. And they don't want to see that. And instead of organically letting that happen with the fans and saying, hey, you know what? Let's turn on babyface and let's ride the wave. They are going against the wave and they're trying to force something that just isn't going to work. And honestly, if they keep doing it, it could hurt Roman Reigns in the long term. I mean, he's already got a World Heavyweight Championship reign under his belt. So he's protected a little bit. But I feel like if he had a great heel run, when he finally turns back babyface, the fans will love it. The fans will be ready for it. Because it will be organic. It will happen when it's meant to happen. There's just a lot of things happening right now that, when I was doing research for Rikishi, I was like, wow, like, as much as, so many things have changed, so many things have stayed the same, and that's something I keep coming back to when I do these Let's Plays, and I go back and I rewatch. Because, when you remember the Attitude Era, when you remember old Nitros and stuff like that, everything was perfect. Oh, the NWO was the best thing ever. DX was the best thing ever. Oh, Attitude, oh, Raw, oh, it was great shows. And I go back and watch, and I'm like, wow, a lot of this stuff was crap. It really was. And I don't know if it's because of age or maturity or my knowledge of wrestling has expanded over the years. But just in terms of, like, the same things that I complain about now. Weak storylines, weak character development, weird booking choices. A lot of that stuff still existed. It's not like that stuff didn't exist back in the Attitude Era. It didn't exist during the NWO time, their reign. It still went on. It's just, I don't know, it's just maybe there was just so much other stuff going on that we weren't, as aware of it as we are now. I mean, a lot of it was still new back then. And as you saw, I just lost a handicap match against Shane McMahon and Vince McMahon. Another setback in the second run of Rikishi that I'm doing. I couldn't get the momentum. And again, with the super heavyweight, especially if you're doing a handicap match and they're throwing those body slams. Look, here's Vince McMahon right away. He's just going to body slam me. Oh, that's great. That's great to have happen in a handicap match. It really puts you at a disadvantage, which is why I never really played as Rikishi. Because of that, because of the super heavyweight. So I'm gonna win this time, but I'm not gonna cheese in this match, but I'm definitely gonna use something to my advantage, and you're gonna see that later on. But it's interesting. A lot of people were very upset, and by a lot of people meaning who knows how many people, but there was definitely a lot of questions raised when Rikishi was announced as being a part of the Hall of Fame in 2015. Do I feel like he deserved it? Sure. Why not? I mean, I think him being inducted into the Hall of Fame represents something else than as opposed to all of his accomplishments. I mean, you really look at that year. But not even that year. Like, those 8 months, those 10 months, and we still remember it. And doesn't that mean that he had something special? If we remember, not only do we remember him being as part of Too Cool, but we also remember him diving off the top. And we remember him being part of the running over Stone Cold. Everything else after that, we don't remember. And everything else before that, we choose not to remember. But that brief moment in time was so defining, not just for Rikishi, but for all the fans of WWF at that time. I feel like that's worthy of a Hall of Fame induction in the WWE. Again, this isn't real athletics. You can't really say so and so should be in it because his finisher always knocked out. It had a win ratio of 98%. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go it's a work. Everything's predetermined. It's storylines. So there has to be something more with the WWE Hall of Fame, in terms of how they contributed to the business, their legacy, this and that. And Rikishi, in that short amount of time, it feels like he did so much more over so many years, but it really wasn't. It was just that year. And I think this is probably one of my most fascinating Let's Plays to go back and do research on, because I too had thought, oh yeah, Rikishi, he was around forever as Rikishi and Too Cool, and he really wasn't. It really wasn't a long time, and I think that's what WWE today doesn't realize, is that they used to be really good at taking advantage of when guys got hot. I mean, The Godfather, Val Venus, all those Attitude Era people, they gave them the spotlight for as long as they could, milk out of it. You know what I mean? And sometimes it grew into something that they didn't expect it. Like, I think the Hardys and Edge and Christian were the perfect example of letting guys do what they're really good at. Oh, the crowd seems to be loving this. Yeah, whatever. Let's let them keep going out there doing what they do. Oh, yeah, ladders. Yeah, sure. Let them do it. And then all of a sudden, it blows up into this huge thing that ends up defining the company and defining what the Attitude Era is about. And 10, 15 years later, we're still talking about that. I feel like there's a lot of things that are happening in WWE now and that have been happening in the past few years that fans have been reacting so positively towards, and then they crush it. They get rid of it. And they did that with Rikishi in a way. People were so excited about Rikishi every time he came out. And then they crushed him. Stone Cold stomped him into obscurity almost. And it's really unfortunate. I mean, look at Mizdow. How over was Mizdow? They were so into Mizdow. You're lying to yourself if you're like, yeah, Mizdow was lame. No, it was great. It was funny. And what was the payoff? Nothing. Damien Sandow almost maybe wins the Andre the Giant Memorial, but then he doesn't, and then boom, it's over. Feud's over. What about Wade Barrett? Bad News Barrett. Bad News Barrett was getting over so hot. People loved it. And then they got rid of it. They crushed it. Why? Who knows why? There's so many things. Axomania. Well, I know why they got rid of Axomania. And it's unfortunate for Curtis Axel. He was just even go back a few years. Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder got himself over because of YouTube and stuff like that. And they crushed it. Literally, they crushed it for him. And it makes you wonder why they do that. It makes you wonder what is going on behind the scenes. If people just don't like fun in the WWE. Or they really do want to prevent guys from getting hotter than others. I mean, I think that's the big problem they're facing with Roman Reigns right now, is that there's a mindset that this is the guy they want to be the number one babyface, but it's not going the way they want it to, and fans are rejecting it, but they keep forcing it. I mean, look at the past two Royal Rumbles. Daniel Bryan should have won both of them. He should have won the first one. He didn't. Ended up in the main event anyway of WrestleMania because the fans literally were boycotting. And they were like, oh man, I guess people don't want to see Batista against Randy Orton. And then last year, Roman Reigns, The Rock was holding Roman Reigns' hand up in the air, and they were booing them. They were booing them, and even The Rock was like, oh crap, what's going on here? When Daniel Bryan wasn't included in the Royal Rumble, and Rey Mysterio came out as they booed Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio probably shed a tear under that mask. He's like, I've never been booed in my life. I felt so bad for Rey. They weren't booing Rey because they hated Rey, because they were just upset. And you could kind of see that in Rikishi. I mean, people at that time, I think fans were a little bit more willing to give WWE the benefit of the doubt. And honestly, I think the WWE took advantage of that, because you look at someone like Rikishi, they were able just to remove him from the storylines, and fans didn't care. There wasn't a huge uproar. Hey, Rikishi hit Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why is he not at this WrestleMania all of a sudden? Why is he not included in the world title picture all of a sudden? Why is he not a big deal anymore? He only ran over and injured one. When Owen Hart broke Austin's neck by accident, right away they printed up shirts. Hey, I just broke your neck. Owen 316, I just broke your neck. They rolled with it. And that was horrible that they did that, because he really did break his neck. It was by accident. But they were like, we're going to use this. And then they kayfabe Rikishi running him over, and they just let it sit. They just got over it. Whatever. We're over it. Austin Rock, main event. Triple H, you'll fight Undertaker. No big deal. We'll move on. I don't know. It's very... It's just interesting to see, because it's like they keep making the same mistakes now. And I think, like I said, I think WWE fans were a little bit more tolerant back then, because it was all very new, very different. Like the Attitude Era, I think the reason why people look back at it with such rose-colored glasses is because it really was new. It was a big shift from how wrestling was in the 80s. I mean, it was breaking, behind the scenes and kayfabe and all that stuff. Now we've seen it all, right? Like, what do you watch that's really new? And there's very few things to get excited about, unless your name is NXT. NXT does it so right, because I think the way you make compelling wrestling now is that you do what works in terms of storyline. You have your baby faces, you have your heels, and you put them in situations that make sense. And that's it. Don't underestimate the intelligence of the audience. Don't try to take advantage of the intelligence of the audience. Just put people out there, let them do what they do best, and let them tell stories in the ring, and fans will be happy. You don't have to get too, over the top anymore, too crazy anymore, because we've seen it all. So just give us what we like to see, and that's it. Call it a day. Don't try too hard. They try too hard. That's really what it is. Anyway, that was my Rikishi Let's Play for the Intercontinental Championship. I hope you like this. I hope you like this episode. I really had fun doing a lot of the research, and it really made me aware of things that, I didn't think I was going to become aware about, in terms of Rikishi and his legacy. So I hope this opened your eyes too. I hope this gave you something to look back on in a different way. You know the drill at the end of these videos. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Check out my other Let's Play videos. Check out my, regular match uploads. I'm doing WWE 2K16. If you want to hear me ramble more about the goings-on of today, watch my WWE 2K16 Let's Plays. And yeah, I'm going to be continuing my Intercontinental Championship Let's Play. Hopefully you'll see another WWF No Mercy Let's Play next week. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate all the fan feedback and the reactions, and keep watching me, keep watching wrestling, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.